It's the weekend and you have financial questions that need answering. That can only mean one thing. It's time for Jill on Money, the show that takes the mystery out of your finances. Here's your host, Jill Schlesinger.
Welcome, welcome. It's Academy Award weekend. And just so happy to be nominated. Thank you very much. Mark was kind enough to make sure that I watch a few of the movies. Mark, we watched Crazy Rich Asians. It's hysterical. Loved it. Loved it. Then we realized we never watched one from last year. So we did The Phantom Thread, which was good. You know, the guy who is the dressmaker in London, and it's Liam Neeson's, is it not Liam Neeson? Daniel Day-Lewis's last movie. I enjoyed it. I took a little nap in the middle of it. I'll admit it. I'm not so proud. I don't get enough. Honestly, I just don't get enough sleep. So therefore, sometimes if the movie is a little bit slow on a Saturday afternoon, I could snore, drop off a little bit. I'm going to do A Star is Born before the Academy Awards. I want to check that out. Hey, if you've got a financial question, don't forget to give us a holler. Did I say that we're broadcasting live from the Capital One Bank Studios? Oh, let me do that first. Hey, we're broadcasting live from the Capital One Bank Studios here in New York. So thank you, Capital One, for being a great sponsor. And if you'd like to reach us and give us a call, the way that we arrange for that is you've got to first send us an email, and Mark will suss it out. The email address is askjill@jillonmoney.com. That's askjill@jillonmoney.com. And it's very easy to do that, of course, right? But if you would, when you send that email, the best thing that you could do is to give us some details. Because if we don't have the details, it's very difficult for us to kind of figure out whether we can book you in a certain block or not. And if you have a time-sensitive issue, make that distinction. Some of you are going to be doing taxes. I always prepare my taxes, Mark, during the Academy Awards. I do. It's a little bit of a tradition in our household because the Academy Awards is so boring most of the time. So it's a good thing to do. I mean, I'm checking on it immediately, of course. All right. So the way that we like to start the program is with a caller. And today we have a caller, and we're going to start the program with Lamar. And Lamar is calling us from the New Jersey, the great state of New Jersey, the Garden State. So Mark and I, when we have just a random name, he says, let's guess where he's from. And I said, Lamar, he's obviously from Texas. And yet you're from New Jersey. So I guessed wrong.
Yeah, that is correct. I was born and raised here.
All right. Friends with Bruce Springsteen. What's going on? How can we help you?
Yeah, so I'm in a very peculiar situation, all planned out, of course. But my wife and I just got married about 7 months ago. We are expecting our first child as well, due in August this year, and we're also looking to buy our first home.
Great.
And we actually just put an offer on a house last week, and that was accepted. So we are now going through attorney review and the paperwork just to make sure we get everything squared away.
Okay.
But, the question that I had was that there's a lot of upfront costs associated with buying a first home.
Yeah.
And we're just trying to figure out the best way to go about that. And we calculate there's going to be about $25,000 upfront, probably in the next few weeks, that we'll have to cough up.
Okay. Do you have it? Have you saved that amount of money?
Yes. Yeah. So I have about $25K in savings. I have some stocks as well, personal and employee stock that I have. She has some savings as well. So we do have it to cover it.
Okay. Wait a second. I just need some details. So
no, go ahead.
You have $25,000 in savings. How much in stock? That is, and if you have company stock, just tell me what's vested.
So I have about maybe, I think it's about 17,000 right now in company stock, but I'm only able to touch about 8,000. They have a requirement where you have to hold it in there for 1 year.
Yep. Okay.
So I
there's
can only pull about 8,000 right now.
And what about other stock?
And then my personal, I have about 2,600 in personal stock.
Okay, so we have 10 grand basically in stock that we have available.
Yes.
Okay. Now, your wife, how much money does she have in savings?
She said that she can probably do 5,000, like contribute 5,000 to this.
Okay.
25,000 up front.
Okay. And so you are going to put down 25,000, and my question is, how much is the home costing you?
So the house will be 400,000.
Mm-hmm. So that's a pretty small down payment.
So we're looking at 3.5% up front, or down payment, with a 4.5% interest rate.
This is an FHA loan?
It is an FHA loan.
Okay. And how much do you guys make together?
She just got a promotion to about 100K. The last 2 years, I've made 160 and 150, and I'm in a sales role. And then last year, I made about 110.
Okay.
So we will be this year a little over 200.
Okay. 200. So what's the rush to buy a house?
So our current lease in our apartment ends in August, and my wife's due in August. So we don't want to be in a situation where she's coming back from the hospital, and then we have to figure out where we're going.
I hear you. Boy. Okay. So what do you think when you looked at the numbers, okay? Tell me what you ran these numbers. You have a mortgage amount that you're qualified to or pre-approved for. But what do you really feel like you can afford as you run the numbers on your $200,000 income?
Yeah. So my plan is to contribute $10,000 for my savings and then sell another $10,000 in stocks. That could be $20,000 there plus my wife's $5,000. That should cover the upfront cost.
Right.
That would leave me with $15,000 in savings. And of course, with the baby coming, I want to be able to not really touch my savings as much as I can, at least for now. But we have another 6 months, of course, before the baby comes. But we're thinking that the mortgage is going to be around $3,000 itself per month. So
is that just the mortgage, or is that the mortgage and the homeowners and the property taxes? Because you're going to be in New Jersey with your high property taxes. Hold on, don't answer that question because Mark is telling me I have to go to a break. So let's go to break and come back. And then you have to think during the break, if $3,000 a month is kind of all in, what would it cost you to rent a similar place just for another year or two, even if you just did that now? So that's what I want to know. Think about that during the break. When we come back, we're going to walk through this and see whether or not this makes sense. I'm a little nervous. I got to be honest with you. I'm a little nervous about this game plan because I hate 3.5% down. I know FHA is very useful, but you've got unpredictable income, and so that can be a little scary if things go wrong one year. So when we return, we're going to get back to Lamar from New Jersey, born and bred from the Garden State. And if you are listening and you're thinking, well, I've got a question like Lamar's or something completely different, send us an email. Ask Jill at JillOnMoney.com. Hey, during the break, here's your homework. Go to the website, JillOnMoney.com. Sign up for our free weekly newsletter. And also, go buy the book, will you? The Dumb Things Smart People Do With Their Money, 13 Ways to Right Your Financial Wrongs. We'll be right back.
401ks, IRAs, refinancing, she covers it all. Back to Jill on Money with Jill Schlesinger.
You're back with Jill on Money. We've got a sister podcast, too. It's called, wait for it, Jill on Money. And it's a little different than this radio show. The podcast universe is tiny, but huge. Let's do it that way. It's not as mature as the terrestrial radio universe, but it's growing and it's exciting and we like being there. So if you want to check out our podcast, Jill on Money, you can get it on Apple, Stitcher, radio.com, Google Play, anywhere else you find your favorite podcasts. Can they subscribe to it directly from the website, Mark? I think they can. Yeah. Just go to the Listen tab of Jill on Money. All right, before we went to the break, we were talking to Lamar in New Jersey. He and his wife are expecting their first child, and they would like to buy a home. The home would be purchased with an FHA loan, which means you can put as little as 3.5% down. And to scrounge up that 3.5%, Lamar would use some money from savings, some company stock, and the cost would be about $3,000 a month. Is that right, Lamar? Did I give you and you and your wife make about $200,000 a year? Is that right?
Yes.
Great. Okay. So, what if you had to actually rent another place? What would it cost?
So if we extended our current lease, where we live now, which the space is big enough for sure for at least an infant, it's right now our rent is $1,700.
Mm-hmm.
So that's $850 each that we spend.
Mm.
So if we continue to just extend our current lease, that's what what it would cost us.
Okay, and let's play this out a little bit. If you're renting at $1,700 a month, and then you don't have to plow through your savings, and you have a little bit of cash flow, what's going to happen? Who's staying at home with this kid? What's the game plan? In other words, are you going to make less money this year because of the baby? Is that another thing that we should kind of factor in?
Yeah, so we have some family friends nearby that we could probably. We still need to game plan that out. I will have to be honest.
Okay.
In terms of.
Okay. I know. I hate that. I hate that planning. Oh. I think it might be premature for you guys to buy a house. And the reason why I think it might be premature is that, you would be depleting a whole bunch of your savings. And I think you actually could use that savings when you have the baby. And I think you're going to know a lot more about your financial condition when you have the baby, live in your $1,700 a month place for a little, let's say for another year, and make do with that. The one thing I didn't ask you was, tell me a little bit about the debt situation. Do you have any student loans that are still outstanding?
Yep, total student loans equal up to about $10,000.
That's good. Okay, so
and then I have an auto loan that also should be finished off by July 2020, and that's about $10,000 as well.
What is the rate on the auto loan, please?
5.5%.
I might start paying that down. And the student loan amount debt, the loan interest rate?
They vary. I would say the most is probably 5.5% as well.
Yeah, I mean, look, while you are in I think there's a few things. I think I would rent. You may not listen to me, and I get that. I know it's not very sexy. I would keep renting. And I think that for the first year that you have the kid, what you want to do is you want to build up that savings. You want to start whittling down that debt, especially the auto loan, which you can probably, the student loans, especially if the 5.5% ones, I'd pay down some. But the auto loan, I would definitely try to attack, and I would use your cash flow to pay down that student loan debt and the high interest student loan debt and the auto loan, and beef up your savings. And I think that you will be happier buying a place when you can have a little bit more liquidity. My concern for you, Lamar, is that if you look at what you sort of listen to the story you just told me, you're making $200,000. You have variable income, but you might kill it next year. You might make a lot of money and be able to beef up those savings account levels in a much more dramatic way. And conversely, what if you make less than that 200? What if instead of making 100 or 110, that you have a bad year? Or we go into, I don't know what you're selling, but in sales, we have bad years all the time. And if you have a bad year, you won't stress out as much. But I think if you have that big fat mortgage yoked around your necks and you have a bad year with a new baby, that seems like a lot to take on. So my inclination is to hold off on the buying the place. If you've already done it and you signed the contract and you can't get out of it and your wife is going to kill you and you got to let this marriage work, then sure, I think that, you can use some combination of selling stock and using some savings and, you might squeak through, but I think it's a little dangerous right now. And
would you touch your 401 at all?
No.
Or you just let that? Okay.
No, I really wouldn't, because how old are you guys?
31 and 32.
Yeah, I don't know. I really think that I think you would be better served by waiting. I think that's really going to be the key for you. And I think you'll be financially more secure. And I'd rather you not actually use the 401k money. I think it's been there. It's great. It's safe. Good. So let it be, right? And to me, that is the way that I would manage it. I don't think that I would mess around. I really don't. And I know that's kind of a drag because I know that you want to buy a place. But I think you're going to go into it in much better shape a year or two from now with a lot more knowledge about what your costs are. I mean, what happens if your wife says, I got this big raise, but I don't want to go back to that same job. I love hanging out with the baby. And so I think that, I don't know, I want to give you some flexibility. And I don't think you're going to have any flexibility at all. No options if you buy this house right now. So I hope you can hear that. I know it's a bummer, but there it is. There's my advice. What do you think?
I like you said, to your second point, probably can't do much about it since we're so far into it, in the process. But I will tell you that I am projecting, at least the start of this year, a lot higher than I was last year.
All right, so look, if that's the case.
Things are looking brighter.
All right, well, if that's the case, then I'll wish you luck and give us a call back. Tell us how you're doing, okay?
Awesome. Thanks, Jill. I appreciate it.
Take care. Where was that guy calling me a little while ago? Oh, Mark, I worry about Lamar and his wife. See, that's one of those things. I devote an entire chapter in my book to this. You buy when you should rent. It's a great example of it right there. I'm not an anti-purchase kind of person. I like real estate. I like owning a home, although I love being a renter too. And I worry that people are jumping into home ownership and robbing themselves of potential flexibility and opportunities down the line. That's my fear. And there you see it in that one conversation. Right, Mark? Easy to sort of see that when it's not you. But when you're in the middle of it, it's not good. It's just not good. They're going to almost double the cost of their housing. They're going to sop up a lot of that savings. And God forbid something goes wrong. And even if he does make more money, maybe it'll work out. Maybe it will. Okay? And then, in which case, I hope it does. But again, one of the reasons that I worry about people making decisions like this is even if it does work out, it doesn't mean that was the right decision. The right decision is to be a bit more conservative sometimes and wait for a better time to make a plunge like this. But I know we're rooting for you, Lamar, and your wife, Bruce and Patty of Garden State. Good luck. Let us know how it goes. Hey, you're listening to Jill on Money. This is the program that takes the mystery out of your financial life. Hey, let us know if we can help you out, please. Please, will you do that? Do it. Okay. We'll be right back. Ask Jill at jillonmoney.com.
Follow Jill on Twitter and Instagram for more personal finance content. Just use the handle @JillOnMoney. Now, back to the show.
You're back with Jill on Money. And this is the show that takes the mystery out of your financial life. One listener at a time. If you have a question, just send us an email. Ask Jill at jillonmoney.com. You can also go to the website, jillonmoney.com. You can read all the content that we have got stored up there. You can read, listen, watch, sign up for our free weekly newsletter. Free! And you can also buy my book, The Dumb Things Smart People Do With Their Money. It's all there, right on the website. But let's move this. Let's move this along. Here is a note from Donald, whose subject is an IRA rollover. Can I roll over IRA funds to individual mutual funds or CDs? Sure. Why not? What you'd have to do is take the money that's in the IRA rollover account and make sure that it is housed in a place where you can buy those particular assets. Most big brokerage firms can do that. Why CDs? I'm wanting to know that because I don't know. I'm not sure I want you to be buying CDs with that, but sure, you can do it. Whether you should is a completely different question. And I would be remiss if I didn't encourage you to follow up with us. And I'd like to hear more about what's in there, what else you're thinking about, how you're managing this. Give us a follow-up, okay? Here's a note from Doug, who enjoys the financial columns I write for the Tribune Company. And we have most of those that are posted on our website. Doug writes, I agree with your comments about the value of FIRE, naysayers aside. So FIRE is Financial Independence, Retire Early. That's what that stands for. Doug continues and says, I would also suggest adopting the even stricter behavior of not ever withdrawing funds from a retirement account. Yes, I so agree with that. Retiring early is a great goal. It was one which Doug achieved by retiring at 56. Doug says, quote, I also was drawn to your paragraph where you defined wealthy as millennials with $50,000 in investable assets. I assume you meant with $50,000 in discretionary funds because I could never characterize such people as wealthy. Yeah, I mean, that's not really that wasn't necessarily my definition, but yeah, discretionary investments, essentially. Furthermore, those same millennials better save first for an appropriate cushion, an emergency reserve fund, right? Like CD or money market. And I agree with you 100%. Doug thinks 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses, and he writes 1 year's worth is preferable. I totally agree. Doug also thinks 2 years wouldn't even be so bad. Fiscally responsible behavior would also be consistent with the FIRE philosophy. Based on your experience, I'm quite sure you're well aware of the value of an emergency fund. I just thought you should have covered them in your article. I have covered them quite a bit, maybe not specifically in this article. And frankly, when you've got your 600-word line in the sand, it's can become a little bit difficult to cover everything. So yes, I love a nice emergency reserve fund. Okay, this is from Ted, who's got $100,000 in the Vanguard Prime Cap Fund. It's a traditional IRA. And he writes, I'm thinking about transferring $10,000 a year to a Roth IRA. My adjusted gross income was $72,000 last year, which included about $20,000 in minimum required distributions. I can live on $47,000, which included Social Security, pension, and stock dividends. What do you think about doing this? If so, what Vanguard fund would you recommend transfer to? So presuming that you have the money outside, I'm making this very clear, outside of this retirement account, and you can pay the tax on the additional $10,000, then yeah, sure, absolutely go ahead and do this. In terms of what fund, I guess it would really depend so much, Ted, about what other assets you have. If it's just $10,000, maybe you use just 2 Vanguard index funds, an extended stock market and a bond market. But I think that it should be an overall, it really should be an overall strategy that would be helpful. Okay? Okay. Let's do one more. How much time do I have? 2 minutes. Oh, how interesting. Another Vanguard question. Hi, Jill. Thanks for keeping me entertained financially. This is from TJ, who's 34, wife, and he have $250,000 in retirement assets with Vanguard. It's in a 401k, Roth and traditional, and a Roth IRA for each of us. We max out the latter, and I should max out my 401k next year or by 2020 for sure. I also have $3,000 in a brokerage account with Betterment. Love that I can buy fractional shares. My question, should I partner with Vanguard Personal Advisor Services for 0.3% annually? I want them to help guide me to retirement and ensure I'm saving enough as possible to potentially retire early, maybe age 55 or 60. Also saving for my 2-year-old's future college. I also think this could be helpful on withdrawing down the road. I get access to a dedicated CFP once I'm at 500 grand, which will be in 5 years or so. Vanguard seems like a safe choice for financial planning assistance. Am I missing something? Mark, would you like to answer that? Mark says, no, you're not missing anything. I think that those services from Vanguard are pretty amazing, and the cost is really cheap. So I like that. You may also wish to look at Betterment because that you already have a relationship with Betterment. I should just note that they have also access to a financial person, and so that might be worth it for you. Okay. I think that's it for right now. What do you think, Mark? That's good. We're getting through them. We're going to keep doing some more emails over and over and over as we're trying to get through all these emails. Am I still stuck in 2018, Mark? Oh, yeah, he says. I apologize if we haven't gotten to all of them. It's very, we really want to. So we'll get there. We're going to start adding some extra email-only segments. You're listening to Jill on Money. Ask Jill at JillOnMoney.com is our email address. We'll be right back.
If you've missed any part of a show or want to check out a past show, go to JillOnMoney.com for more great personal finance content.
You're back with Jill on Money. If you've got a financial question, we would love to help you out. So the thing is, it requires a tiny bit of work on your part. All you have to do is talk to us. Send us an email. Ask Jill at JillOnMoney.com. We will work really hard to get you on the air with us. But if we can't, we'll read the email. Sometimes we don't read them as quickly as you'd like. I know this. If, by the way, it's like a big, important decision that needs to be made and it's time sensitive, let us know that. Okay. Here is an email from Lewis, and the subject is a full sentence, which I love. And Lewis, the subject is the retirement issue no money manager seems to want to talk about. And in parentheses, not spending your principal after required minimum withdrawals. Okay. Here's what Lewis writes. Hey, Jill, I've been meaning to email you for a while, but haven't found the time until now. The issue that has always confounded me is what to do with your required minimum distributions from an IRA or 401k so as not to use up or spend your principal. I know you need to hold back a percentage to pay taxes so the government can get their cut, but it seems that the rest should be reinvested in another personal account to build upon for new investment where there is a nice rate of return and no more required minimum distributions, RMDs. I feel this process is not stressed enough by money managers that I listen to on TV and the radio. Most of them are saying to keep working longer or make sure you have a certain amount saved up so you don't run out of money one day. However, if you currently have enough income coming in and your distributions are reinvested, your principal should never run out. Only the tax obligation is lost. I'm 55 years old and will talk to a professional money manager soon to see if I will be able to retire in the next 7 to 10 years. So my question is twofold. Do you feel this is the best way to keep hold of your principal after your RMDs? And where do you suggest investing this money? You know, I feel like all of these things kind of work in conjunction with one another. So what do I mean by that? Working longer is a really good way to prevent yourself from tapping into assets too early, which, by the way, is literally one of my chapters in my book, The Dumb Things Smart People Do with Their Money. Basically, I've seen time and time again, people spend too much money early on in their retirement, and it's quite devastating to your long-term future. So either they're retiring too early or they're spending too much early on. The idea of not spending the required minimum distribution is wonderful. I'm worried because many people will not have that option. So it kind of depends what you're trying to do. I'm not one of these people who thinks you should desperately try to preserve your principal. I'm okay with spending down your nest egg. It's fine with me. But if you truly want to maintain your principal, clearly reinvesting your required minimum distribution is a great way to do that. It's just that I just don't know if enough people have this option. And maybe some people don't really want to think about that. But I like it. I like it as an idea. And I think certainly it makes sense, again, in concert with all the other things that I'm sure you are doing, specifically because you did that. Now, when you talk about a financial advisor, one of the things I should also note is, of course, you should be very suspect of the financial professionals out there. And one thing that you can do is you can hire someone who is basically bound to put you before her or her firm, meaning the fiduciary duty. You want to choose someone who is bound to do that. And the best way that you can do that is to work with a financial professional who has to do that simply because of the way he or she is credentialed. So that can be a CFP professional. That can be somebody who is works with is a member of NAPFA, the National Association of Personal Financial Advisors, napfa.org. That is an accountant. I just came back from a conference last month where I was with accountants who carry a designation that's called the PFS, a Personal Financial Specialist. And there are also some folks who are credentialed with something called a CFA. And a CFA is usually the kind of person who goes in and does institutional money management or works in a big investment bank. But some of those folks have gone into financial planning, so they too are held to the fiduciary standard. Again, that fiduciary thing, it's important. It's putting you before the advisor or before the company. And also, it subjects that professional to disclosing any kind of conflict that exists. I mean, it really isn't. Almost everybody has some sort of weirdo conflict out there, which is fine. Just disclose it. So that's what I would do, Lewis. I love reinvesting your required minimum distributions, and I love the idea of you getting some help. The one differential among all these professionals is those who are members of NAPFA. They cannot sell any commissioned products. So there's a slightly higher bar they jump over in my mind. Okay, you are listening to Jill on Money. Coming up, we are going to answer more of your great questions. If you've got one, hop onto JillOnMoney.com. Contact us button right there on the top right. Okay, we'll be right back. You're back with Jill on Money. We are live from the Capital One Bank studios. If you've got a financial question, just shoot us an email. Ask Jill at JillOnMoney.com. Not the youngest emailer ever, but right up there. This is from Daryl, who is 18 years old. I have the hugest smile on my face, 18 years old. And he writes, "Hello. I'm an 18-year-old and in school. I want to invest $10,000 for retirement, but do not know how to or where. Can you give me an idea?" Okay, Daryl, here's the thing. $10,000 for retirement is possible if you have earned income. So did you earn some money putting, I don't know, on the books somewhere? You can certainly open up a Roth IRA up to your amount that you earned. I'm sure, I don't know, maybe you earn more, but the limit is $6,000 this year. And then the rest you can put into a general investment account. And I think that, you can go to any of the big no-load, big index fund houses. So that could be Vanguard or T. Rowe Price or TD Ameritrade or Charles Schwab or Fidelity. And each of those places has a way to invest into a mutual fund. And the mutual fund you might pick would be, let's say, a target date fund, one fund with a bunch of money, or maybe just put some money in an index stock fund, maybe. And again, if you're really just going to use this for retirement, not anything else, maybe you're going to change your mind. But like 70 or 80% in stocks and the rest in a bond index, and you'll be all set. But if you think you might want the money for something else, maybe it is you are going to need some money for college. That might be a good reason not to invest all of this money in risky stuff. So thank you so much for sending us this note. Good luck, and let us know if you have any follow-up questions. You are listening to Jill on Money. Hey, during the break, why don't you go to the website, JillOnMoney.com. There you can buy my new book, The Dumb Things Smart People Do With Their Money. We'll be right back.
It's the weekend, and that can only mean one thing. You're listening to Jill on Money, the show that takes the mystery out of your finances. Here's your host, Jill Schlesinger.
You are back. It is hour number 2 of Jill on Money, where we are broadcasting live from the Policy Genius studio. Policy Genius is the easy way to compare and buy life insurance. Just go to policygenius.com to check it out. All right. Have you gone to the website lately, JillOnMoney.com? Because we've got tons of stuff there. We've got all of these TV segments that I've done recently. Some of them are about the book. Some of them are about tax season, stuff that I've written, all that good stuff. And while you're there, you can always shoot us a note. The Contact Us button is there, or send us an email. Ask Jill at JillOnMoney.com. Ask Jill at JillOnMoney.com. That's what Roz did. She asks, what do you think of the asset under management, or AUM, method of charging from a financial planner? Now, in doing my own research, that method seems outdated. Your thoughts? You know what, Roz? I'm kind of fee agnostic when it comes to this stuff. I think that if you're getting, the reason why AUM doesn't work well is when they're just doing asset management. But if you're getting asset management as well as full financial planning, then I think it's totally fine. But be clear that to ask the advisor, what will you be doing for me for that 1% of the asset under management? So really, because I think that tends to be the biggest issue in my mind, that if you don't know exactly what they're doing for you and you're paying up for it, that doesn't make any sense. So ask the question, be smart. Got another question from Chuck, just how can I find a good financial advisor in my area? I think that the most important thing for people to remember is if you're basically starting fresh, right? And you say, how do I find a financial advisor? You want to talk to some of your friends and get a referral. That's a possibility. You also may want to talk to an accountant. And if you really are just stuck, you're starting from zero, there are 2 websites to consider. One is the website for NAPFA, the National Association of Personal Financial Advisors, NAPFA.com. NAPFA.org. Now, that is going to give you someone who is fee only. So, for example, in the previous question from Roz, then the person who charges AUM or maybe a NAPFA advisor, but if they sell something with a commission, then they would not be able to join NAPFA. The other thing that you can do is you can actually try to go to the letsmakeaplan.org website. That's the CFP board's website. And you pop in your zip code and the advisors in your area come up. But what we ought to really make sure you understand is that you still have to do some homework. You have to ask questions. And so we've got on our website a very clear document. It's under the resource section, and it's the 10 questions to ask before hiring a financial advisor. So check that out. Okay? Okay, here's one from Karen who says that a recent article that was posted on LinkedIn was great and timely. Karen had just had her checking account compromised. Eek. I have a few questions for you related to your article. There were basically questions about how to file complaints and all of the ways that we do that. So, Mark, let's just send her the links to that, which I bet you already have done. And there's also a question about annualcreditreport.com, which asks for your social. Is it safe to do this through their website? Yes. And the question about a credit card notification program that is through each individual credit card company. So that is how those work. If you are looking for information about how to protect your identity, we have lots of information out there. Should we make that just a resource page link, Mark, or not? Maybe. Mark's going to think about it. But it's out there. Mark will send you the note. Okay. This is from David, whose accountant suggested opening a Roth IRA with $6,000, and I just don't know which company to use. Betterment, Charles Schwab, Fidelity, Vanguard. I don't want to micromanage the account. I just want to let the company do it. I have a SEP plan with Oppenheimer. Would rather use someone else for diversification. Any help would be helpful. Okay, so David, if you want to just sort of put it on autopilot, I think that you may want to choose either Betterment or Vanguard. Vanguard has the personal financial solutions part of this, which is basically their robo-advisor. Either one of those, about 0.25% to 0.3% annually. That's going to do it for you. I think very easy. Why do you still have a SEP plan at Oppenheimer? I'm kind of interested in that. Maybe you want to move everything over because Oppenheimer, I believe, is going to be more costly. So there's the question for you. I'm not sure. So I'd love to hear back from you about what's up with the Oppenheimer piece. Okay. Teresa writes, as my husband and I approach retirement, we've scheduled meetings with different financial planners. We're trying to decide who will manage our finances when we retire. At our last meeting, we were told that we need to create a trust. We have homes in 2 states, Colorado and Tennessee. Our children are 32 and 27 years old. When I asked why we need to create a trust, we were told that a trust will prevent our children from going to probate. I thought that a will is all that's needed. Why do we need to create a trust? If we do need to create a trust, do we need an attorney in both states? That's a good question. Okay, so trust assets pass outside of the probate court, and a will does not. However, there is something called a pour-over will that will create a trust after your death. That's a possibility. I don't know the question about whether you need a lawyer in both states to draft this. I would presume that whatever is your primary residence is what you should probably think of as the place where you get the attorney. I guess I want to know a little bit about what else is going on in your financial life, because if you have a lot of money, then that's one good reason to try to create a trust. In some cases, the probate process is not that difficult. So I would really, before you start paying for an expensive attorney to draft those kinds of documents, I'd go talk to the attorney and get an opinion as to whether or not you need that. Okay? All right. How much time? 50 seconds. Okay. Here's a quick 50 seconds from Birdie. I love this. I received some money from my mom who passed away last year. I put it into a money market account at a local bank. It only makes 0.15%. I'm 64 and I have only Social Security coming in right now. I don't want to lose that money, but I know I should put it somewhere so it can make more interest. Doing online savings, I feel disconnected. I'm not sure if it's a good idea. Yes, it is a good idea. Okay, so here's the deal. If you don't want to just hand it off to anyone, go to depositaccounts.com. Look there for the best places. The online banks are going to be best for you. Don't worry, it will be okay. All right? Thank you so much for writing. If you've got a financial question, we want to hear from you. Just go to JillOnMoney.com. You can click on the Contact Us button, and we will get that message. And while you're on the site, be sure to sign up for our free weekly newsletter. We'll be right back.
Do I invest here? Should I put my money there? Jill Schlesinger can help you. Back to Jill on Money.
You're back with Jill on Money, and if you've got a financial question, it's very easy to contact us. You can send us an email. It's askjill@jillonmoney.com, askjill@jillonmoney.com, and head over to the website, jillonmoney.com, where you can read the articles that we write, listen to old shows, watch TV segments and videos, buy the book, The Dumb Things Smart People Do With Their Money, and sign up for our free weekly newsletter. How about that? All that in one place. Fantastic. We're trying to clear out the email box. And what month am I in, Mark? Have I gotten through all of last year? Not yet. Almost. All right. Here's a note from Joe, who's got a concern about GE corporate bonds. He says, 4 years ago, I inherited $140,000 in GE corporate bonds that were earning 5% with a maturity date of July of 2024. My plan was to hold the bond to maturity because of the rate. With all the ongoing problems with GE, do I need to be concerned with default on this bond? Should I keep it as planned or sell at the current market rate and avoid the risk of default between now and 2024? I don't know what else is going on in your life. Do I really think GE is going broke? No, I do not. But if you're telling me that the only money you had was an investment in a $140,000 GE bond, I would tell you to sell it. So I need a little bit more information. So in other words, do you have another $100,000 in other stuff? Do you have another $1 million in other stuff? That will help determine how much risk you can absorb with this one holding. Generally, you've heard me say this before, I don't like having more than 5% in a single holding, and that includes an individual bond because of the risk. So it could be an individual stock, and maybe it's your employer's stock in your retirement account. But, I think the problem here, Joe, is that if I don't know more about you, it's hard to make that determination. That said, like I said, I don't think that necessarily GE is going broke. But send me more. Okay. Here's Joanne, who saw a piece that we did on CBS. And I had mentioned that a large percentage of people would not be able to deduct their contributions to charities on their taxes. I had a friend very upset about not being able to deduct this. I called the IRS. They told me that the contribution amount a person could deduct had doubled. I don't know who you spoke to, but the problem is if you don't itemize, you can't deduct your contribution. Okay? That's the deal. So hope you have that. That's how charitable contributions work. And so if you do not itemize your deductions, your charitable contributions cannot be deducted. That's the bottom line. If you do itemize, then yeah, sure. All right, let's see here. Who is this? Robin was asking about being an executor of someone's estate. Do you recommend any resources or guides that could be helpful for someone new to all of this? Hey, Mark, let's send her the. I think I have a. I have to find it. I think I had a post that I did after my dad died about settling an estate. And so, there. I think we'll send that to you. But I'll find it, Robin. Don't worry. Okay? It's not easy. It's actually a bigger pain in the neck than you would think. All right, here we go. Oh, this is from February. You're sending me February emails? Just you're going top to bottom, bottom to top? Okay. Jill, if I'm married but filing single with 4 months gap between jobs, is the tax return calculated differently? Oh, boy. Okay. So, I don't know this. So tax, here's how taxes are calculated. Mark, let's send her the article I just wrote about the tax primer. So, your income that you have had at some employer has had money withheld for taxes. Unemployment received, there is money withheld for taxes. And if your total tax that's due is less than the amount that you withheld, you are going to owe money. If it's more, if you've withheld more than the tax due, then you're going to get a refund. So I don't know exactly how married filing single. I just think it's weird married filing single. I never thought that was a great advantage. I think you might want to talk to somebody about that. But anyway, our son was in college, and how is a dependent? Well, either you or your son. Either you or your husband will claim your son. And if you're claiming your son, you can still claim him because he's in college and he's a dependent. And the last question is, her husband's a big fan of TurboTax. Is it suitable? Yeah, why not? TurboTax is good. But if you make less than $66,000, then use the IRS free file. That's the best thing you can do. That's the best system right there. So I would try that out. Tim writes, I have slightly over $3,000 that I'm required to withdraw from my IRAs. Thanks to my Air Force retirement pay and Social Security, I do not need the money right now. So I don't know what to do. Should I transfer it to regular savings or maybe a CD? Thank you for your assistance. Sure, you can just add it to your emergency reserve. You can put it into an investment account. You can do anything with that money. Pay your tax and move on. Very good. Oh, God. Poor Jackie. She ended up making too much money to contribute to her Roth IRA, and so she had to recharacterize her contributions into a traditional IRA. Can I now backdoor that for tax year 2018? Ah, that's interesting. I think you can, but don't forget, if you've got other IRA money, other traditional money, that could be a complication. There's two choices. It's either going to be a traditional IRA and you take the deduction for it. And now you have a traditional IRA and then you can then convert that either this year or next year. The question I have for you is that do you make too much money to make to grab the tax deduction associated, in which case you would have a non-deductible IRA, and that could also be turned into a Roth. But if you have other existing IRA money, then you must factor that in, and it may not work. So I need a little bit more information, Jackie. Okay. Here's a question. Here's a note from Barbara, who read an article that I wrote about tribute to the father of index funds, which I wrote about Jack Bogle. And Barbara says, it reminded me of my boss, Jack Dreyfus, the founder of the Dreyfus Mutual Fund. As you know, he invented the Commonplace Mutual Fund on Wall Street. He was better known as the Lion of Wall Street. I was his personal assistant for the last decade of his life. In any case, his ads for mutual funds were things like, we treat your money as if it were our mother's money. And the fund was directed towards everyday individuals, not just professional investors. Your article brought back good memories for me, and for that, I thank you. Well, thank you, Barbara. What a nice note. You know what? My first mutual fund that I owned? Dreyfus. The Dreyfus New York Municipal Bond Fund. And my father bought that for me and my sister. And that was where we had our college money. And we had to write our own checks for college because my father says, you got to write that check. You see, how, now you show up to class, which I did. I was a good girl. Come on. What do we got? One more or no? My daughter has 3 girls, age 5, 3, and 1. She started saving for all of them, and she informed me that she wanted the money I usually give her and her husband for Christmas to go into the account. I did and received a thank you note via text. She thanked me and told me what a good investment it was. Then she finished saying that she would do her best to steer her girls away from a liberal arts education. I'm sure you really don't care, but I thought it was funny, and I'm hoping it makes you smile. Hey, Huey, you know what? That's so sad. I love a liberal arts education, but thanks for writing. I was a product of liberal arts education. It's Jill on Money. And if you've got a question, give us a holler. Email us, askjill@jillonmoney.com. We'll be right back.
If you've missed any part of the show or want to check out a past show, go to JillOnMoney.com for more great personal finance content.
You're back with Jill on Money. Like how I do that little pause, like set it apart so you know what it is. Here's the deal. You know all these authors have come on the show? I'm an author now. Some dude interviewed me for his podcast and radio show, Mark. It was such a bad interview because he's interviewing me about my book, but he's plugging his book constantly. I knew that was going downhill fast. So first, he's like, oh, we do a video, right? I had just taken off all my makeup, and I didn't know that. Most of these interviews are, audio. I took off all my makeup. I changed my clothes. I'm in my house. I click on it. He goes, oh, I don't see you. Can you click on your camera? I said, yeah, I'm not going to do that. I'm sitting here in my sweats with a high ponytail and a baseball cap. I'm going to the gym in a half an hour, so let's get this over with. Okay. Not that I'm that vain, but really. It was not exactly. I don't know why anyone cares about watching someone talk into a microphone. That's not. I never understood why Imus put a video of him doing a radio show. It's much more fun listening than watching. All right. Which is why you're here and you're listening, and we thank you so much, and we're so grateful that you are listening. I'd be so much more grateful if you bought the book and then reviewed it on Amazon.com or on any of the sites where you buy your books. It's called The Dumb Things Smart People Do With Their Money, 13 Ways to Right Your Financial Wrongs. Please, I need reviews. I don't know why. The publisher said I would never ask for you otherwise. Here's an email from Jeremy. He and his wife are both teachers. He's 35. She's 30. They've got retirement accounts. She's got a Roth. He's got a 403B. Separate. All that is separate from their pensions. Oh, gosh. He says, my question is I have multiple sclerosis. Oy vey. Fortunately, my condition's not progressive, but I want to plan for the future. I've heard about medical savings accounts for families to plan for future long-term care purposes. This is separate from a medical plan HSA account. Can you advise me in the correct direction of something that may help ensure that my wife will have help and will have money in the future in case I'm unable to work due to my illness in the future? I only know about the traditional HSA account that is offered through an employer. So which is a tax-exempt account or a custodial account, and you've got to set it up with a qualified HSA trustee, and you've got to be. There's a lot of rules around it, but you would know whether you have an HSA through work. I don't know about this other thing you're talking about. If you're talking about long-term health care, you wouldn't be able to get underwritten anyway. So usually a health savings account is paired with something called a high deductible health plan. Maybe you have it. I don't know. Maybe you guys have it through your employer. And it's you can put away a bunch of money, $6,000 or $7,000 for individuals, over $13,000 for families. So gosh, I don't know what you're talking about. So I maybe you just need to save more money in a regular account. I just would be very careful. If you're going to be buying some, I just feel like maybe some insurance person may have sold this, but maybe there are some hybrid life insurance policies that you may be able to purchase in addition to what you have, and maybe those would be available. I don't know. I don't know if it's like a separate thing. But anyway, I would, before you do anything, I think that because you have this condition, I probably would sit down with a financial planner and maybe a fee-only financial planner, someone who's not going to necessarily sell you something. That's what I would do. Try that out. Let me know how that goes. Rena writes, I'm 46 years old. I'm in the military. I've got credit card debt. I'm trying to pay it off with a side hustle. Nice. And I've got a small business and a financial advisor and savings and investments. Should I focus on paying the debt down and stop savings? I would do this. I don't know how, you didn't say how much debt you have, but yeah, I would really concentrate on paying the debt off. I would put in as much, I would maybe, if you have I might just say like, keep putting money into your thrift savings plan because you're in the military. It's a great plan. Don't do other stuff, but I would definitely just max out your TSP and use all the rest of the money to pay down the debt. That's what I would do. And it'll get done fast. And then you can go back to more saving. All right, here's Cody. Cody wants to know what to do with a tax refund. You know, the deal is like usually people just, they get this tax refund and he said, we're either going to pay one of our credit cards or our car payment. What do you think? I would pay whatever's a higher interest rate. I'm very boring like that. I go highest to lowest. Some more income tax questions. My father passed away last year, says Joel. His brother, sister, and he became beneficiaries of a revocable trust that held his assets. We've not taken any distributions yet. Does the trust have to file a K-1 showing each of us receiving 1/3 of the trust income? Then each of us would pay tax on our individual returns. Or should the trust pay the tax when we file? The trust already has a separate tax ID number. Legal accounting question. Who's settling the estate? Why are you not getting any advice on this? The estate attorney should be providing you advice. Go with that. Matthew wants to know that he's got a tax question. He goes, I know I should have paid more attention to this, but let's see. I had 6 different jobs last year. Some employers didn't take out federal taxes from his paychecks. Is it normal? Well, if you're, it depends what kind of employee you are. If you're a 1099 employee, your employee, the person who you're employed by doesn't withhold taxes. Maybe this is because these are some small businesses. I'm not sure. But now you know that if you receive a check and taxes are not withheld, you and your little brain clicks on and you say, let me just throw 20% of that into checking savings for the tax bill that's coming up. That would be most prudent for you. So give that a shot and let us know how it goes. Okay. You are listening to Jill on Money. And when we come back, we're going to blow through some more emails because they're piling up. Mark's really just hawking me now. It's crazy. He's so all over me. Once that kidney stone passed, he has new fire, vigor, vim. We don't know. The kidney stone, little Jill, his kidney stone, may still be there. She might be in small pieces for all we know, laying dormant, waiting to wreak havoc. It's Jill on Money. Hey, send us a question that you may have. It's askjill@jillonmoney.com. We'll be right back.
Do I invest here? Should I put my money there? Jill Schlesinger can help you. Back to Jill on Money.
You're back with Jill on Money. If you've got a financial question, a money question, a career question, shoot us an email. AskJill@jillonmoney.com. You can also flag us from the website. Leave a contact button right on the Jill on Money website. Phyllis writes that she is 59 and self-employed. Her house is valued at $300,000. She owes $88,000 on a home equity loan. She also owns an office condo that's valued at $250,000, and guess what? No mortgage. I don't have a retirement fund and only have $45,000 in an account. I presume she means in an emergency reserve account. I owe just under $10,000 in credit cards, $5,700 car lease. Should I pay off my credit cards and car lease, or should I continue to contribute to an IRA or Roth IRA? I was also sued and lost from a chiropractic practice that I sold and had to take out a loan for $147,000 to pay the chiropractor who purchased my practice. And so there you have it. Okay. So, yeah, of the $45,000, you've got 45 grand in an account. And you've got a lot of equity in your house. So there's a few things that I think you should think about. Number one is go ahead and pay off the credit card. Just boom, done. I don't know if you could pay off the car lease if you're going to keep the car, but otherwise I'm not sure why you'd pay it off. I don't think there's much to be gained. So definitely paying off the credit card makes sense. And the office condo, are you using it or not? Is that something you're in? I'm not sure whether you are or not. And if so, then you can't do much with it. But I'm just wondering, if you're not in that office, and maybe you are, I just don't know. I would like to free up some of this money that's sitting in your real estate. I guess I would be interested in thinking about perhaps selling the office condo. But in terms of the very basic facts that you lay out, and you don't mention how much money you make, my comment is, yes, pay down the credit card. Sure, you can go ahead and pay off the lease if you are going to end up buying the car out, but it doesn't sound like you are, so just keep paying that. It seems like your house poor. You've got a lot of money tied up in real estate. And so I also would want to know the cost of the loan that you took out, the personal loan to pay off the person who bought your practice. I really need a little bit more detail. But in essence, to the very basic question, should you pay off the credit card? Yes, absolutely. Go ahead and pay off the credit card. Okay. Here is a question Jay, I'm just going to say the name is Jay, writes, I'm curious to hear Jill's thoughts on the FIRE movement. Come on. I've been talking about the FIRE movement forever. Mark, did you send her my column? Okay. Oh, her name is Julia. Julia, Mark will follow up with this, sending you not only this snippet, but also the column. There seems to be mixed opinions among experts. I'm interested in the concept more with regard to achieving financial independence and the freedom to pursue a second career later that's not contingent on income. I agree. FIRE, financial independence, retire early. That's what it stands for. I love it. It's basically everything I love. It's saving money, living smart to preserve options. And it doesn't mean you have to retire early. If you want to, fine. But it just gives you tons of flexibility. Julia's 35. She lives on less than half of her income. Nice. I'm contributing the max to my 401k and Roth IRA. I'm not married. I don't plan to have kids. There's a good way to keep your expenses down. I bought my first home last year, 30-year fixed-rate mortgage, 4.5%. I have a 6-month emergency fund saved. Other than my mortgage, I have no debt. I still have some extra money to save each month, and I'm expecting an annual bonus this spring. With the goal of financial independence in mind, what are your thoughts on what I should do with the extra money? My inclination is to focus on paying off the mortgage early, but experts, it seems, to advise against this. I'm not sure why. My other thought is to invest in ETFs. I am one of those people who doesn't love paying off a mortgage early. And here is why, Julia. Because when you pay off the mortgage early, you lose that flexibility that you so desperately want to gain. So I like the idea you can buy exchange traded funds. You can buy no load, no cost index funds. You can do that at any of the big houses out there. So, the ones that I always rattle off are Vanguard, T. Rowe Price, TD Ameritrade, Charles Schwab, Fidelity, You can do that. You can go to an online investment platform. You can go to a Betterment, or Vanguard has these personal advisory services that will allow you to not only just invest, but get some advice. All of these things are great ways to invest for the long term, but have the flexibility of having the money around. The problem that I see with paying off that mortgage is you're paying down a 4.5% note. Presumably, you're still getting a tax deduction associated with that. You just got the loan, and so the cost of the mortgage is probably more like 4, maybe a little bit, maybe 3.75% after you get that tax deduction. And I think that if you're going to be investing for the next, say, 15 years, if you think that fire is on your horizon at 50 or 55, you're going to hopefully make more than that. So that's what I would do. And I wish you the best of luck, Julia. And thank you so much for writing. Don't pay down the mortgage. Do save for yourself outside of a retirement plan environment. You're listening to Jill on Money. And if you have a question, if you want to get more involved in the FIRE movement, then just shoot us an email. Ask Jill at JillOnMoney.com. We'll be right back. You're back with Jill on Money live from the Policy Genius Studios. If you've got a financial question, send us a note. Ask Jill at JillOnMoney.com. Let's squeeze in another question before the show ends. Dave writes that he's got a traditional pension and a portable pension. When he retires, he says the portable will be a monthly payment, but it can also be a lump sum. Most of the guys take a lump sum on the portable, but you've got to invest it right away to avoid being taxed. Where would you advise to put the portable? Okay, so when anyone who's got a pension, even an old retirement account, you have to roll it over somewhere. You would roll it over into an IRA rollover account, and that can be anywhere. And you may take this opportunity to start talking to a financial advisor, financial planner, one hopefully that has your best interests at heart. You can basically find one of those by just going to letsmakeaplan.org or NAPFA, NAPFA.org, and that will get you access to people who are bound to adhere to the fiduciary duty. So yet you roll it over directly. And you don't have to necessarily invest it all at once. Maybe for you, it's not going to make sense. I would think this is a good moment to just talk to somebody. Dave's second question is that he was hurt on the job, and he says if the doctor doesn't release me soon, I could lose my position with the company. I'm not sure if I will able to continue to do that. If I apply for disability and get approved, am I able to collect my pension and disability, or do I lose my pensions? I don't think you lose your pensions because of disability. If anything, I think they accelerate. What I might do is call your HR department, or if you are part of a union, call the union representative and find out what your options are. It may be that, in fact, when many organizations, if you become disabled, you then can take your pensions, you can take those benefits early, you can start a stream of income. So all of this seems to me an important component of that overall game plan. I might seek some advice before I make big decisions. Okay. It has been wonderful. It's been a great show. If you would like to get in touch with us, intro week, all you have to do is go to the website, JillOnMoney.com, click on the Contact Us button. We would be happy to help you out, or just send us an email. Ask Jill at JillOnMoney.com. And check out all the stuff on the website. It's great. Read, listen, watch. Sign up for our free weekly newsletter. And, of course, buy the book, won't you? The Dumb Things Smart People Do With Their Money. Okay, we'll see you next week. Thanks for listening.